On May 18th, 2012, a series known as Tron Uprising would air its first episode on the somewhat newly made channel Disney XD. The show was a sequel to the first Tron movie back in 1982 and a prequel to the 2010 reboot film Tron Legacy. The 80s movie wasn't an immediate success, but modern sci-fi films still pay respect to one of the early movies of the genre. It was released around the same time as the first Star Wars trilogy, as well as Blade Runner, and stood out from them due to the movie being based off of a video game created by Kevin Flynn. Decades later, Disney attempted to create a sci-fi film that could compete with the insanely popular Star Wars. Thus, Tron Legacy was born. The graphics, of course, were immensely updated, and the plot now featured Sam Flynn, Kevin Flynn's son, as the main protagonist, who dives into the game and finds that things aren't quite right. Instead of it being the paradise his father told him in bedtime stories, Sam found that the grid was being run by a dictator named Clue, an exact copy of his father that didn't age, unlike his CGI face. But it was 2010 and it was still impressive, okay? After watching Legacy, viewers may have wondered, how did the grid end up like this? What happened to that Tron guy? What was life like for normal grid dwellers? Was there a rebellion? That's where Uprising comes in. Cartoons showcased the grid similarly to how Legacy looked. Dark with thin lights illuminating the city of Argon, neon signs everywhere, techno music clubs, futuristic motorcycles, airships, and more. But something the show focused on were the people who lived here. And to no surprise, a city with glowing advanced technology needs a large amount of mechanics. Beck and his friends Mara and Zed are your average Joes working honest lives. However, Beck loses a close friend due to the invasion of Argon, and this changes things. To spit back at the new oppression from Clue's army, he disguises himself as the myth Tron and nukes the statue of Clue, causing the military to take action. On the run, the real Tron finds him and sees him as a worthy successor. Now the plot isn't anything groundbreaking. It focuses on the small resistance fighting the large tyrannical government, basic rebel thing. What isn't basic is how the show uses that plot to explore the world and characters that inhabit it. So without further ado, let's get started with the characters. Beck is honestly pretty bland, but that's fine. He's the main character and we're supposed to see the story through his eyes. If he was overly arrogant or immature, like many cartoon protagonists are nowadays, he would be too distracting. He does the job right, and Elijah Wood's voice acting is well suited for the role. Young but not too inexperienced, calm under pressure but not afraid to speak up against his mentor. Zed and Mara are kind of boring at the start. The first half of episodes make them feel thrown in just because the writers needed a subplot. However, nothing they do is without purpose. Something that's shared with all the characters is the idea that everything matters. The Renegade stole Zed's bike in a racing B-plot. Zed doesn't like the Renegade. Beck does something that causes a tighter curfew on the public. They grow more upset with him. As far as these characters' personalities go, they're a bit more flashy than Beck, but they're not overly annoying. Without them, we wouldn't get to see how the civilians' lives are affected and made better or worse by the Renegade's actions. Also, Zed constantly gets friend-zoned by Mara, so laugh at his relatable agony. Abel serves as a second wise, older character that influences Beck's life. I won't spoil too much about the show since I want you to watch it, but while Tron serves as a mentor/sensei character, Abel seems more like the father figure who wants to keep Beck safe. While on the subject of mentors, Tron is very much like the war-hardened veteran who is held back by his scars. The movie Tron Legacy shows why he got them, but some episodes of this show go much more in depth with it. It even explains how he keeps himself alive and actually dives into the times of war where he was, well, I won't spoil it for you. He may appear to be the basic mentor character, but there are several things about Tron that makes him more than just a digital boomer. Tesla is freaking sick. Did you see how his hands can stretch out? Come on, he's so cool, guys. His forehead is huge! Anyway, when I think of a good villain, I think of Slade from Teen Titans. Cold, threatening, manipulative, incredibly hard to beat, and of course, that sinister voice though.
And you just let him escape. I accept your resignation.
Whenever this guy shows up, you know it's serious, and he demands respect from his lieutenants. Speaking of, you know how I said Tesser was a great villain? Well, Pavel is better. If you've ever watched Transformers Prime and thought, Starscream is such a great character, well, this guy is basically Starscream, but even more psychotic.
Please, don't try to escape!
Yep, kids cartoon. It's interesting to watch him go from just a higher-up goon to a full-blown character with his own motives and rivalries with the best character of the series. Oh, you don't know who that is? It's Paige, you freaking morons, look at her! She jumps out of helicopters, she rides light cycles, she beats up Beck most of the time, and oof! What makes her unique from the other villains is just how hands-on she is with the hero, and also her hidden life before becoming a soldier. I won't spoil anything about it, but this character really makes you question the term villain, and her back and forth dialogue with Beck is actually really entertaining. She's not just a bland bad guy who cackles as she explains her diabolical plan. She has a personality and doesn't even get along with her teammate Pavel. It's much more than you would expect from a kid's cartoon nowadays. All jokes aside, I'm kind of curious for those who have watched the show. Mara or Paige? And that's where I'm going to stop with the characters. There are more I could talk about, but not without spoiling some big things. So, watch the show. The world is stunning. In 2012, cel-shading cartoons were rare, and this show made it look good. Friends of mine know that I don't like Star Wars Resistance or Transformers Robots in the Skies, and the thing the two shows have in common is that style of animation. To me, it just looks too bright and bad, but Tron Uprising does it right in my opinion. The darker tone and cooler colors complement this animation style, and because of this, the world benefits. The environments of Argonne, the off-grid, and more just looks so unique. Everything is super reflective, smooth, and slim. Speaking of slim, long. These characters definitely did not skip leg day. It takes a bit to get used to, and even then it still looks weird in some scenes. I mean, I could just... And there we go. Bam! It's normal now. But would you remember this show's visuals as much if it was like this? Daddy Longbeck here is much more memorable with this design. Did I really just call him Daddy Longbeck? The point is, if you want your show to be unique, make it look weird. But even if the characters weren't 9 feet tall, the other visuals of light cycles and streets would still be remembered. Now, remember how I mentioned at the beginning that Disney was trying to make something to rival Star Wars at the time? Well, that doesn't matter anymore. Mickey bought the Death Star and used it on the show. Sadly, it only got 1 season, and that's really a shame because you can tell the writers had so much planned. So many characters had much more stories to tell, and due to it being rushed, there are several plots left unfinished. Another part of the blame for this show's canceling is due to Disney XD. No, this is not a laughing matter. Stop it, Mickey! The channel was new and they put this show on here to try and convince people to buy it with their cable package. Which is why I'm convinced that this show is released on the normal Disney Channel, we might still be watching new episodes today, even after they bought Star Wars. There's just not enough fans of this show. Not enough appreciation goes into the animators, writers, and the composers of one of, if not the best cartoon soundtracks of all time. Tron Uprising was robbed of a long life, and unfortunately, we may never get any more Tron-related movies or episodes of that sweet
Biodigital jazz, man.
But at least we have what we have. Thanks for watching. I highly recommend you watch this cartoon. And if you have watched this cartoon already, leave a comment down below what you think of it, how your experience was watching it, and as well as the movies. And until next time, peace out.